Hello. Today I'm going to review the book Hook Point. And who would be interested in reading this book? If you want to grow your audience online, pitch more effectively, create viral content, land better clients or opportunities, or tell stories that actually get heard, then you might want to read this book. And this book is by Kane. It's his second book. His previous book, 1 Million Followers, How I Built a Massive Social Following in 30 Days, came out a couple years prior to this, and this book came out in 2020. And quite frankly, there's a lot of overlap between the two books. I reviewed 1 Million Followers, probably about 6 months ago. I was eager to read Hook Point. I got a lot out of 1 Million Followers. I didn't get as much out of Hook Point only because there was so much similar material. But as you can see, my social media needs a lot of work, so I definitely got a lot out of this book. I definitely needed to read it. So a couple thoughts on this book, and the full title of the book is Hook Point, How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World. It's, like I said, it's been out 4 years. It's really sold well. I think it's a bestseller now. But overall theme of the book, as you'd imagine, is that in today's digital world, you have about 3 seconds or less to capture attention. If you miss that window, you risk being lost in a sea of 60 billion messages sent daily. And so Brandon Kane, teaches us Hook Point as a strategy to capture attention quickly and then align that attention with value and turn it into long-term engagement. That's the general gist. And so success in branding, storytelling, communication depends on mastering the first impressions. A great hook isn't clickbait. It's meaningful, authentic, entry point into your deeper message or story. So some of the key points in this book: hook point defined, that's a short, powerful statement or format. It could be text, image, stat, idea, performance that grabs attention instantly. The 3-second rule in a digital age, algorithms, platforms, and audiences demand that content capture attention almost immediately. By the way, hooks aren't clickbait. He makes a huge argument they're not. Unlike manipulative clickbaits, effective hook points are rooted in truth, emotion, relevance, and value. He gives a formula for hook points, which combines bold ideas, emotional engagement, relevance to your audience, and a clear benefit to the viewer or listener. Hooks can work across all channels. It's not just social media. You can use them in meetings, investor pitches, personal branding, TV, commercials, whatever. Now, with anything, especially on social media, it's evolve or die. So what works today doesn't work tomorrow. So you got to constantly evolve, as we all know. So this book, I listened to this book I have a copy and I listened to it on Audible. It was about 9 hours on Audible, and I had a little problem getting through the whole thing. But the thing that Brandon does really well is he tells a lot of real life stories that make his information easier to digest. So in the book, I'll give you a quick overview. Introduction is just where he kind of explains the whole living in a 3-second world, and kind of discusses the concept of the micro attention span economy and how we have to compete with these 60 billion messages daily. But he makes the case that attention is the gateway to success. If you can't capture it, then nothing else matters. It gets us to the first chapter, meet Hook Point, your new secret weapon. And he just defines the hook point as a tool to grab attention quickly and communicate value. Describes hook points as formats, statements, visuals, performances, and ideas that can be used in any medium, essentially. Position hook points as a foundation of all communication in the modern world. Now, this book, it's not just about hook points. I mean, with all, like his previous book, there's a lot of sales advice, sales, teaching, marketing, and then he wraps, his social media and, things like hook points, around all those other things, which is kind of neat. Chapter 2, it's called Tesla, the Blair Witch, and Your Guide to Creating a Perfect Hook. He uses viral examples like Tesla's Cybertruck, the Free Solo movie, the Blair Witch Project movie to illustrate the power of bold ideas and how bold ideas can come from hook points. Highlights the effectiveness of surprise and subversion and introduces the idea that hook points must lead into a strong story or a value offering. Chapter 3 is 60 billion messages a day. He just hammers home how inundated we are with information, this overloaded landscape. Excuse me. He emphasizes the best hook points are designated for speed and clarity, or design, I should say. Strong visuals, smart copy, and immediate emotional payoffs are essential. those are all things that I lack probably. Chapter 4, Become President and Save the Planet. That's the name of the chapter. Explains how stories are the bridge from attention to connection. Introduces a 4-part golden formula of the great storytelling. And there's, by the way, I'm not going to cover them all. There's little formulas, in almost every chapter. Every other chapter, there's a 4, point or a 7-point or, my 8-step process. He also shows how to align hook points with aspirational narratives. There's a lot of practical teaching in his book. Getting into chapter 5, how to avoid prison time. And this is the things that you shouldn't do. Focus on building trust through authenticity and transparency. It emphasizes the importance of congruency between your hook and your truth. Share stories where bold but truthful hooks points created powerful connections. This is super important. This authenticity, like your hook actually has to be related to your content. You can't lie to your follower, listener, reader, and it has to make sense. It also has to align with your brand. He uses all sorts of brilliant examples, and he uses good and bad. Like let's say, hey, Gillette came out with this DEI kind of campaign, which their customers didn't understand since previously they only stood for removing facial hair, and so it wasn't congruent with what their brand messages was, and so it really failed that whole ad campaign. But he uses examples like that. Chapter 6 is learn to listen to learn. In this chapter, he argues that listening is the secret behind effective hook creation. See, this chapter, and there's a couple of chapters, he's like, you got to listen, you got to read, you got to study, you got to do A/B testing, right? And that is, you have to gain information and knowledge, right, before you can effectively create a hook point. And that's why he says, listen. If you listen to your target, they'll tell you what hook they want, right? And that's what he's talking about here. And in this, he introduces the process communication model, which is tailored communication to personality types. This chapter I thought was a little bit long. It was interesting. It's a little bit like mirroring and matching. Who's your audience? Which one of the 6 styles are they? And then tailor your communication style to how they want to receive it. And then chapter 7 gets take everything I have, it's yours free. I like this chapter. It has to do with value first marketing. It's kind of like a Gary Vaynerchuk kind of who he mentions at least a dozen times throughout the book. But value first marketing is a modern superpower. Generosity attracts attention and builds loyalty. Great hooks create curiosity, but generosity turns it into an engagement. And he's like, just give it all to free. Again, by the way, give them up front and give them for free and trust in abundance, and everything will work out. Chapter 8, we got a couple more chapters left. By Chapter 8, From Hook to Scale, describes how hooks points fuel exponential growth. He constantly goes back to how he built a 1 million followers in 30 days, which was really interesting. And he is very talented, man. I learn a lot when I read his books. So he explained how he built his brand and client base using consistent hooks. And then he offers a system for turning a hook into a platform or a scalable message. And that's the thing, and he talks about this as a hook, is it your brand message? Is it your USP? Is it your vision statement? And then he talks about that earlier in the book. And he goes, sometimes, but sometimes it's not. But sometimes your hook point can be the basis of your company or the basis of a movie or basis of a book. Like it springs from that. It grows from that. In chapter 90, the name of the chapter is Standing Out as World Class, and where he shares real world examples from celebrities and brands, just what works, how come it worked. Shows how even saturated markets can be penetrated with the right hooks. In there, I think in the earlier chapter he says, the correct hook can change the world, and he has a couple examples of how a clever hook, really had an impact on the world. And then positioning and personal branding are elevated by strong hook points. So he's just making his argument, which is great. Now, Chapter 10, and this is an interesting thing to end the book on. It's hook point. Your hook point is dead. Long live the hook point. And he just, in this chapter, warns against complacency and says, hey, what's working today is not going to work tomorrow. So you don't arrive to being really good on social media. You don't arrive to being really good with hook points. It's just you constantly evolve because everything changes. So some of the quotes that caught my attention in this book. First one, if you can't grab attention in 3 seconds, you've already lost. Second one, a hook point. By the way, you notice how in this video I didn't do my normal 3-second introduction? because my 3-section introduction sucks. And if I only got 3 seconds, well, I've been losing everybody since day one. So today I got right into it, all from reading this book. A hook point, another quote, a hook point is not about tricking people. It's about helping people see your value quickly. Clickbait is a broken, I love this quote. Clickbait is a broken promise. A hook point is a compelling invitation. All these are really good quotes, by the way. Don't sell yourself, solve a problem. That's where he does like this sales coaching all throughout the book. Hooks draw people in, stories keep them there. So some good quotes there. With that, so by the way, let me show you what the books look. Here's what the books look like. The one on the left is his first book. The one on the right is his second book. This interestingly enough, the book Hook Point, I didn't originally buy it. Somebody sent it to me. After watching my videos, somebody sent it to me and said, "Hey, Ron, you need some help. Can you read this book?" I'm like, "Huh? What?" And being the bright person I am, I let it sit on my desk for about 8 months, and I just now this week got to it. But thanks for the gift of the book. For the person who sent it to me, you're absolutely right. I need help. I hope you found this. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found it interesting. It's a worthwhile. If you haven't read 1 Million Followers, then read Hook Point. And honestly, I would probably read Hook Point over 1 Million Followers. 1 Million Followers is a little bit more technical. It's dense. It's like more like a class. Where Hook Point is a little higher elevation, a little wider view, a little easier to understand. So definitely I liked Hook Point. I hope you got something out of it. If you get a chance, check me out on socials. I post something, 1 or 2 things every day, things of value, things that I think mortgage and real estate professionals, executives, things that salespeople in general can get value out of and help propel their business. With that, thanks for joining me. Hope you have a great day. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.